and welcome to another edition of Currently in Quincy. I'm Joe Catalano, and today we will get some fall fire safety tips from the National Fire Protection Association right here in Quincy. First, though, as always, we take a look at the weather and the news for you. Currently in Quincy, it is gorgeous. 74 degrees with brilliant sunshine. Temperatures topping off in the upper 70s this afternoon with lots of sunshine. The humidity is in check as well. Another comfortable night tonight. Temperatures dip to around 60 degrees. Nice day for tomorrow as well as we wrap up September with a mix of sun and clouds tomorrow. Temperatures in the lower 70s, starting to cool down tomorrow night down to the lower 50s. And we welcome October. On Wednesday, it'll feel like fall with partly sunny skies. It'll brisk and breezy. Highs Wednesday only in the lower 60s. Chilly nights, too, for those Wednesday, Thursday evenings. Daytime highs, lower 60s. Nighttime lows, mid-40s. But it warms up again toward the end of the week, and it stays dry all week long. Again, we have sunshine, 74 in Quincy right now. Checking out the news for you today, a group of Quincy residents failed to collect enough signatures to force a question on the November 4th ballot addressing the mayor's annual salary. The city clerk's office says the Quincy Citizens for Fair Raises fell 828 votes short of the required 5,373 signatures to place the question on the ballot. The group submitted over 7,000 signatures to City Hall last Tuesday. However, election officials say 2,618 of the signatures were not valid for reasons that included they were illegible, they were duplicates, they were not registered voters, or they were registered at a different address. The 5 election officials worked overtime last week to review the signatures, and outside counsel was even brought in to ensure they were following proper state guidelines. Now, the citizens will meet with the city clerk today to review those signatures. The group does have the option to appeal to the Quincy Board of Registrars. The question would ask voters if they want to roll back the annual mayoral salary from $285,000 to $183,000. It would also set 2% annual raises for all elected officials and require any change to that policy be approved by voters. City of Quincy has its first fraud and scam prevention liaison. Quincy Mayor Thomas Koch says Cheryl Bambry of Quincy has accepted the new position that was included in this year's city budget.
She's worked with seniors her whole career, and she's agreed to accept the position. So the starting date hasn't been determined, but I think she'd be an excellent match for what we're looking to do, connecting with the seniors on all these challenges of scams that are out there, as we've talked about before, Joe. It's maddening when I see people taking advantage of our seniors, what little they may have left, and so I think it's an important position, someone that can work, with seniors, get out ahead of it, the information needed, don't fall for this, don't fall for that. If somebody, tries to do something, call somebody, call the police even. So I think she's a perfect fit for us, so looking forward to that.
Bambry has led the Norfolk County Sheriff's Are You OK program for many years, providing well-being phone check-ins to hundreds of senior citizens around Norfolk County. Numerous instances where those phone calls have helped a person in need have been reported during the life of the program. Koch says Bambry will leave the Sheriff's Office to take the new position in Quincy and will have an office at the Kennedy Center alongside the Quincy Council on Aging. Koch proposed this new position after former Quincy Elder Services Director Tom Clasby was indicted for embezzling over $100,000 in public funds. That case is still pending. Bambry's new position pays $90,000 per year. A new affordable housing development for senior citizens has been approved in Quincy. The Zoning Board of Appeals last week unanimously approved of the Quincy Housing Authority's plans for a 7-story, 94-unit complex to be built on that vacant lot behind Tobin Towers on Clay Street in Wollaston. The building will have 94 one-bedroom apartments, a 22-space parking garage, and a 111-space parking lot. Ward 5 Councilor Dan Minton had requested that Quincy residents always be given preferential treatment when leasing the apartments. But Betsy Collins, the vice president of developer Peabody Properties, says state law only allows that one time.
This project will be under the fair housing laws and under the approvals from the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. As such, they mandate how much of a local preference you can have. The maximum they allow is that 70%, and they also only allow it during the initial lease up. So we're bound by those requirements to, only do it during the initial lease up. Your wait list is maintained from that initial lease up process. So to the extent you have existing Quincy residents on it, they stay on the list and they still get to be processed. But under the fair housing laws, we're not allowed to continue the preference after the lease up. It is by lottery, so everybody who applies, which is another mechanism, everybody applies. There's not the first come, first served does not get any kind of preference, but the lottery is opened. All the applications come in, and then we take the 70% local preference first, and they get the first 70% of the units. But we are unfortunately restricted to not continue that practice after the lottery list is established.
So the building will be open to people 62 and older who qualify for affordable housing. The Quincy Planning Board has already approved of that project. Well, the new 4-year degree programs at Quincy College are doing well. College says that enrollment in the business management, computer science, and psychology baccalaureate programs has increased over 50% since the first one debuted in 2021. There are 375 students in the programs, including 184 in business management, 64 in computer science, and 127 in psychology. The 4-year business management program came first, followed by computer science and psychology in 2023. And next year, Quincy College says it plans to add a 4-year degree program in nursing. The Quincy Fire Department has 10 new firefighters. A swearing-in ceremony was held recently at Quincy City Hall to welcome the new firefighters to the department. Acting Fire Chief Gary Smith told the new recruits that they're joining an outstanding department that is the envy of fire departments across the state. Smith praised Union Local 792 and its president, firefighter Tom Bowes. Mayor Thomas Koch also praised the union and urged the new firefighters to use compassion when dealing with the public. Now, the new firefighters are undergoing 2 weeks of training at the Quincy Fire Academy at the former St. Mary's School in West Quincy, and will then have 10 weeks of training at the State Fire Academy in Stowe. It's our check of news for you today. Coming up, the National Fire Protection Association here in Quincy, providing some tips to stay safe this season. We'll get an update next. Welcome back. Well, with the fall season upon us, and next week being National Fire Prevention Week, actually, we thought we'd invite our friends at the National Fire Protection Association here in Quincy to stop by and tell us a little bit about ways for you to stay safe and what will be happening, especially for next week. So Susan McKelvey agreed. Good to see you again, Susan.
Good to see you.
Thanks for coming over.
Thank you.
NFPA here in Quincy for what, 100 years or so?
Yes, yep, more than 100 years.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
And you were kind of the professional standard for creating codes for fire safety, right?
Yep, NFPA develops more than 300 technical codes and standards for fire, electrical, and life safety. So we kind of say we're everywhere, but you just don't see us. So exit signs, even the number of windows and doors in your home, sprinkler systems, smoke alarms, everything, almost everything where we see, where we go, in our homes, outside when we're out and about, there are codes and standards protecting all of us.
Yeah, and it's national, so you are doing this for the entire country. Fire departments look to you for these codes, fire inspectors as well,
Yep,
right, to make sure.
Contractors, installers, builders, I mean, facility managers, it runs the gamut. The National Electrical Code is used by every electrician in this company. You're required to follow it. So all the lighting in, us talking here today, the lights that are on us, the lights in people's home, all follow the National Electrical Code.
Yes.
Like I said, we're kind of everywhere in your lives. You just don't see it.
Yeah, and interestingly, you wouldn't think, but these codes change all the time. You have to keep them updated all the time.
Yep.
There's a way for you electronically to check on those. These are available to the general public, right? They can check on these and
Yeah.
see if their homes are meeting standards.
Yep, so NFP has an open consensus process,
Right.
so anyone can participate. You can go online and find out where a code or standard is at in its cycle. So they're typically updated on a 3 to 5 year period. So you can just go online, see where it's at, and if you want to make a public input or comment, you are more than welcome to do so.
Sure. And as technology changes, the codes have to change to adapt, right? So we're
Well,
seeing
that's
that.
right. There's
Yeah.
always emerging technologies. Things are changing in our lives all the time.
Sure.
And the codes and standards work to meet that. A concern that we've had, we're seeing across the country is that jurisdictions don't always follow the latest edition of a code or standard. So they're not getting the latest information, updates, safety requirements that ensure that the community is getting the best coverage that they need.
Interesting. So how do you address that? Is it kind of up to them to be proactive to make sure
It's
that
an
they have the
ongoing
latest?
process.
Yeah.
NFPA works with a lot of groups, organizations. It's really educating even people in government. A lot of legislators don't really know how the codes and standards process works and really how safety is applied in this country. A lot of people think that the government create codes and standards.
Yeah.
That's not the case. It's private organizations like NFPA, not just NFPA, a lot of other organizations, but they all work to create these requirements that have done so much for decades to improve safety. So it's so important to continue using the latest codes and standards to ensure that we maintain that. The reason that we feel so safe, the reason we have the luxury of walking into buildings and assuming that everything is being taken care of and done on our behalf to keep us safe is because those codes and standards have been in place for a very long time.
Yeah.
And if we start backing away from that, then we jeopardize our safety. And the scary thing is that by the time people see the impact of that, it would result in tragedy.
tragedy,
Yeah, and so it's really important to sustain what we have. Again, it's not a happy accident that we're at where we're at. We're
Yeah.
at where we're at for a reason.
Okay, so it's important for government to stay up to date on those codes and standards
Yes,
so they can enforce them.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Jurisdictions, authorities having jurisdiction, the people that enforce codes, use the codes in our
Sure.
communities, that we really need to make sure that they're keeping up to date with all the information
Absolutely.
that is included in those codes and
Yeah.
standards.
It's fall, it's back to school
Yes.
time for college kids, right?
Yep.
And I know that staying safe on campus is a concern, more for parents probably than students. But what is the NFPA doing to kind of help students stay safe when they're in dormitories, college classrooms, college campuses?
Yeah, we work with organizations that promote campus safety each year, working to get that information out to college campuses because there are risks. A lot of kids are living on their own for the first time,
Right.
whether they're in dorms on campus or they're living in off-campus housing. And they really need to be aware that fires can and do happen. So simple things like making sure the smoke alarms are working. If you're on campus in particular and there are fire drills, make sure you're listening to them, taking them seriously. If you use things like, a lot of times curling irons or flat irons, things for your hair, unplug them. Really be careful about using candles.
Yes.
If you want to use candles, it would be best to use battery operated candles and you eliminate the risk of a fire. But if you are going to use candles in your room, you really should actually follow. It might not even be allowed in dorms. So make sure you're
Right.
following.
That's a key point.
Yeah, right. You're following the rules of the dorm, but also if you are allowed to use them, and even if you're on off-campus housing, use them with caution and care.
That's probably where more of the concern is, the off-campus housing, right? So
Yes,
because
that's right. That's absolutely
The
right.
colleges, I would think, are right up to date with the safety standards.
Yeah, they absolutely are in most cases. So, but it's just more a matter of, it's everyone also needs to take personal responsibility for the things
right.
that they do.
Yeah.
But you're right. So when you're off campus, again, cooking probably for
Mm.
the first time on your own, and cooking's a leading cause of home fires.
Is
So it is by
Okay.
far. So you really have to be careful about what you're cooking on the stove and in the oven, and be mindful of how long something is cooking, and
Yep.
to use timers, things like that. You really don't want to leave cooking unattended.
So cooking, the #1 cause of home fires, period.
Yes.
Full stop.
Yes.
Yeah.
About half of all home fires involve cooking equipment.
right?
Yes.
What's
And the
the-
leading cause of home fires is unattended cooking.
Okay.
So it sounds so simple. A lot of times, our messaging around, keep a close eye on what you're cooking. You think of, well, of course, that's so simple. But the truth is, we're all so distracted. We're so busy. We're phones, and you're trying to do so many things at
If
once.
you've got young kids, that's a distraction.
Absolutely. And so-
pets is another one.
You're right.
Yeah.
So you lose focus, and that's when issues happen. So
Sure.
it's really important to keep a close eye on what you're doing. when
It
you're
takes
cooking.
absolutely no time, right, for a small fire to go into something
Absolutely,
major. Yeah.
absolutely. But if you're there to monitor a situation, you can mitigate it much more effectively.
Absolutely. What about smoking, Susan? Is that another issue?
Smoking is among the leading causes of fire, but it's not the top cause of fires, but it is a leading cause of home fire deaths.
Okay.
So they tend to be involved in more serious fires. So if you do smoke, make sure that you are carefully disposing of cigarette butts,
Yep.
and that you're not smoking when you're sleepy. You want to make sure that you don't fall asleep. Sometimes cigarette butts can fall and land on furniture, and that can cause a fire. So you really have to be mindful of the fact that they do cause fires, and they can be quite serious.
Absolutely, yeah. And it all, leads back to what is a ubiquitous item now is the smoke detector, right? Or
Yes.
now the smoke and carbon monoxide detector.
Yeah, the smoke alarms, the great news is that most homes, we know from surveys that we and other organizations have done, that smoke alarms are in most homes. That's great, but the majority of home fire deaths that occur in the U.S. occur in homes where the smoke alarm has been either dismantled or it's not working properly. It might not have working batteries, or the batteries may have been removed. So all those factors contribute to smoke alarms not working the way they ideally should to protect you in a fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This, I believe it's this weekend we fall back an hour, or sometime soon we fall
Yeah.
back an hour. Traditionally, I know first responders like to remind folks that's a great time to replace your batteries and test your devices.
Yep,
right?
that's a long-standing campaign, change your clock, change your battery. So our messaging changed a little bit because a lot of smoke alarms now use 10-year batteries. So really it's more when your alarm starts to chirp.
Oh, okay.
Because that signals that something's not quite right. Oftentimes it just means you need to replace the battery,
Yeah.
you can put a new one in, and you're all set. But it might not necessarily happen once a year, so it's more just a matter of monitoring and making sure that you have working batteries in
Okay.
your home. But it's always a good year, if you have traditional batteries, a good rule of thumb would be to just make sure that they're replaced once a year.
Twice a year?
Yeah, whenever, or again, whenever the alarm chirps to let
Yeah.
you know that they're running low.
And test them, right?
Test them
make
once
sure.
a month,
Yep.
make sure they're working. Smoke alarms are as good as their functionality, so you have to make sure they're working properly.
Absolutely, yeah. I wanted to talk about Fire Prevention Week, National Fire Prevention
Yes.
Week. October 5th is when it kicks off, right?
That's
This
right,
coming
it's the 5th
Saturday.
through the 11th.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. What's it all about?
So we're focusing, this is a kind of a shift away from our typical focus. Usually we'll focus on smoke alarms or escape planning, or
Yeah.
one of the leading causes of home fires. But this year, our theme is called Charge into Fire Safety, lithium-ion batteries in your home.
Yes.
So lithium-ion batteries are everywhere. They charge so many of the devices we
They're
use.
in both of our pockets right now, probably.
Yes, yeah, our smartphones,
Yeah.
I mean, everything, the electric toothbrushes, so many, power tools,
Yeah.
everything. So, and they, by and large, they work very safely, but they do present potential fire risks, and we want people to be aware of them. We know, I'm sure you've seen in the news, there are stories of fires involving these types of batteries, so people really have to know how to use them properly
Yes.
and make sure that when they're going to be getting rid of a device for whatever reason that includes them, that they do so safely.
Yep, so recycle them properly.
Exactly.
And also, I know that you make a point to use proper charging
Yes.
cords, proper materials to charge your device on.
Yep. You want to make sure that you're using products that have been tested to established safety levels.
Yes.
So you can, if there are a lot of products on the market that don't meet those standards,
Right.
and they present increased risk. So you really want to make sure you're buying from someplace that has done the work to make sure that you have a safe product. And then if you are buying chargers for a phone, let's say, make sure that it's either a charger produced by the manufacturer or a charger that the manufacturer has approved. So you really want to read the instructions carefully. That's where you'll get the guidance on what will work best.
Yeah. Is it still looking for the UL listed testing?
UL is one, so
one,
there
okay.
there are several, but UL is one of the independent testing laboratories
Okay.
that you can look for a mark like
Okay,
that.
so charge into safety.
Charge into safety, yes, because you really want to make sure, again, that you can use these products safely, but they
Yeah.
do present potential risks, so you
There's-
have to be careful.
The graphic you're showing there for lithium-ion batteries in your home. So buy only listed products, charge devices safely,
Yeah.
recycle batteries responsibly,
Yeah.
which is key, right?
Yes,
Don't
you don't
just
want to
throw
just
them
throw them
away.
in the trash.
Right.
So there's a website, Recycle to Safety, and you can check how in your community where there might be
Yep.
an opportunity. And you can always call your local fire department and
Yes.
ask for their recommendations as well. They'll be able to help you.
Yeah, I know a lot of the big box home improvement stores have the bins right in the lobby there
Correct.
when you walk in to
Yeah.
recycle those properly as well.
Exactly.
But they are concerned. I know that fire departments train specifically on how to deal with fires caused by lithium-ion batteries, that the intensity is so severe that they need special equipment,
They
special
can,
training.
yes,
Yeah.
they can be really serious fires and explosions that are very dangerous,
Yes.
almost instantly. In New York City, there was a big spike in the number of e-bike and e-scooter fires
Yes.
in recent years, and it just reflects how dangerous they can be.
Yep. And charge them on a hard surface, right?
Yes,
like
right.
a glass top table or
Yes,
or
I've had to
granite
tell my
countertop.
sons, don't put it on your bed.
Right.
You've got to keep it on a hard surface where it can
Yeah.
stay cool.
Yep, it gets hot.
Yep,
And if
and
there is
that
a
can
problem,
cause a fire.
at least it's on a non-flammable surface, right? If
Yes,
something does
exactly.
happen. All these things to think about.
Now, I know all these new emerging
as technology
things.
advances.
Yeah.
So will the NFPA be kind of out and about with this new Charge into Safety campaign in
Oh
schools
yeah,
and
we
things?
were. Fire department at its core, Fire Prevention Week is a grassroots campaign.
Yes.
So we really rely on local fire departments and safety advocates to bring the campaign to life in their community, and they do. They do wonderful work. They go into schools. They reach out to the community. All sorts of programs. NFPA has a program with Domino's. We're in our 18th year now. It's actually a smoke alarm program, but it's done in coordination with Fire Prevention Week, where Domino's restaurants team up with their local fire department, and they do random smoke alarm checks. So
Okay.
if someone calls in to place an order, they'll ask, would you like to have your smoke alarms checked? And if they're
Really?
working, you get a free pizza.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
And it's really fun, and the program's grown year over year. It's a great way of getting people engaged in fire safety, but in a really fun way. And it's been a great program working with Domino's.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Get a pizza and get your detector checked.
Exactly. And if they're not working, then the fire department will provide the replacement batteries
Okay.
or alarm if needed.
I know
Yeah.
here in Quincy, the fire department works with senior citizens every once a year at least
Yep.
to install new smoke detectors in their homes as well.
Exactly. There are
Yeah.
a lot of great programs like that out there.
Yeah. Can we talk a little bit? I know it doesn't feel like it right now. It's going to
Yeah.
be 80 degrees the next couple of days, but soon we'll be turning heating systems
yes.
on, and there are inevitably issues that come with that.
Yeah, so heating is the second leading cause of home fires.
really?
Yeah, so you really want to make sure that your heating systems are good working order. Actually, now's a good time to do it before
Right?
the season begins. But you do want to make sure they're in good working order. If you are going to be planning to use portable space heaters,
yeah.
that's a big area of concern.
Yes.
So you want to make sure that they're in good working condition, no frayed or cracked wires, all the
Yep.
knobs or buttons that are on the device work properly.
Don't use extension cords with those, right?
You don't want to use
Yeah.
extension cords with those, and you want to make sure they're at least 3 feet from anything that can burn. So
Okay.
just make sure you plan, in the months ahead to have a safe place to use them.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I know that you like to talk about safety tips at home, especially an evacuation plan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is the time, right?
It really is,
Yeah.
and any time is the time,
Well, right,
really.
yeah.
But it's so important. So, you know, home fires today burn faster than ever. So you used to have up to 17 minutes to escape a
Wow.
home fire from the time the smoke alarm sounds, and that's gone down to like 2 minutes.
Okay. 17 minutes to 2 minutes.
Yeah, there was a
Okay.
study done several years ago that showed what a vast difference there is between older fires in homes from years ago
Yes.
and today. And there's a lot of factors that contribute
Yep.
to that. But the point is, if your smoke alarm sounds, you have a very small window of time to get out safely.
Okay.
And so you don't want to squander that precious time figuring out what to do, especially if you have multiple people in your home,
Yes.
or if you have young children, or other, maybe an older adult lives
Yes.
in your home, or someone who needs added assistance. It's too late to start making a plan when the alarm sounds. So you really have to plan in advance. It's in the same way I was saying with cooking. It sounds so simple, you know, keep an eye on what you're cooking, make a plan. You think, well, I know what to do. But in a panicked situation, it's a situation you've never been
You
in
don't
before.
think clearly,
You're
yeah.
not, and it may be at night, you can't
Right.
see, so you really,
Yep.
you know, it's dark. So you have to really have a plan in place so that everyone knows what they're doing, a meeting place outside, in front of your home. Knowing to call the fire department from, if you can grab a cell phone on the way
Right.
out, or from a neighbor's phone, and then to never go back inside
Exactly,
the
yeah.
burning building. Yeah.
NFPA.org for the
Yes.
National Fire Protection Association, or FPW for Fire Prevention.
Yes, we have a bunch
Yeah.
of information on lithium-ion batteries at fpw.org, but
Okay.
at nfpa.org, we have a wealth of information and resources for people as well.
Thank you so much, Susan. Great to see you.
You too. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome. Have a safe fire season.
Same to you.
Enough time to check the forecast for you for the rest of the day today. Just beautiful. Brilliant sunshine, mild temperatures, upper 70s, comfortable at night. Nice tomorrow, a little cooler than the feel of fall here for Wednesday and Thursday, but warming up again toward the weekend, so we'll look forward to that. Special thanks to Susan McKelvey for joining us today from the NFPA. Thanks to our crew. Thank you for watching. Friday, we get an update from the Quincy Quarry and Granite Workers Museum. Meantime, check our website. It's qatv.org. All of our latest programs, along with news and information, video on demand, live streaming, and much more. For all of us here at QATV, I'm Joe Catalano. Have a great week.